I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today. And like we've talked about, our focus on this podcast is specifically for professional women and their financial well being. And I'm thrilled to just dive straight into your personal journey towards that financial empowerment. But we're going to start with a brief introduction and then we'll just jump right in. And that's where the recording will start, okay?
Okay.
All right. I'm delighted to introduce you today to Maria Anderson, and she is with Marico Consulting out of Baltimore, Maryland, or just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. So thank you.
Side of Baltimore. It's pretty much the same. And it's Marie I can it's okay if I it's Marico. Uh-huh.
Mariko, and I should have
Yes.
asked before we started recording if I was pronouncing it correctly. So my bad. I apologize for that.
That's
So
okay.
Mariko Consulting. So what we want to do today, because the podcast is a focus on professional women and their financial well-being, we're just going to dive into your personal financial journey to that financial empowerment. And I'm going to start, Maria, with asking you to share with us about a 90-second overview of your professional journey and what's inspired you to pursue this career.
Okay. Yes. So Maria Anderson, uh let's see. Growing up I always wanted to be a secretary until I did a junior achievement class, and I always scored really high in business, and I fell in love with accounting. I'm a very black and white kind of person, although I'm very colorful. I like things to balance, I like rules. And that's how I came to love accounting. Um, a lot of a lot of professionals don't realize the importance of operations within the accounting realm and the business realm. So, um, and starting with the Obama campaign in '07 in Iowa, was a field organizer, traveled the world, traveled our country,
Yes.
traveled our country. And then in the general in '08 on the campaign, decided that I wanted to give my experience, my accounting. I wanted to get some.
You're good.
Um, okay. Uh, ooh, I don't know why I just got really nervous.
It's all good.
Yeah, so traveled, started my journey as a field organizer on the Obama campaign, then moved to Chicago and became the senior accountant on the Obama campaign. Really had a great mentor who taught me how to apply the accounting knowledge that I had. I have my BS from FAMU. And from there, my career just kind of took off. So, from the senior accountant position, I ended up coming to DC, did accounting for the Obama Biden transition team, and then ended up in the White House in White House operations, where I got to really apply the financial skills that I had to more of logistics and SOPs and forms and all that good stuff, which then after a couple years resulted in me going to a startup political consulting firm. So then I really got to learn how, not only how to keep systems going, but also building systems and all of the systems that are needed when you're first starting. Um, was there for about 5 years and then went over in Planned Parenthood and figured out nonprofit accounting, where I was the operations director, really dove into HR, and then decided to just kind of go out on my own now that I've had a little bit of government, a little bit of for profit, a little bit of nonprofit. I just decided to start Mariko, which is really a play off me and my husband and I's name. I'm Maria and he's Rico, so we combined them to get Mariko Consulting. Um, so I don't quite know if that was 90 seconds, but
Oh, it
it's a
is
short.
perfect, whatever it is. And this is the thing. I want to applaud your diversity in your experience. That is very wide, and I know it gave you you learned a lot in each of those positions, I'm sure. And speaking as a personal entrepreneur, and just having started my own personal business 2.5 years ago, I can certainly understand the significance of having all of those procedures in place. And I have to give you a little bit of a kudo. You used an acronym. I'm going to make sure everybody understands what it is. SOP, the standing operating procedures or standard operating procedures.
Standard, yes,
Stand-
standard operating procedures. I'm Donna. I can tell that you've been in it because you're applauding me, and I think that's it. Like a lot of small businesses starting off, I feel like there's not enough information out there on setting up your operations manual. A lot of people don't even have an operations manual. So if someone was to get hit by a bus, how do you know what they're doing or how they do what they're doing? Believe it or not, some businesses actually close because they don't have those operating standards in place. There's no one doing the invoicing, or you know how you're holding all the hats, and therefore there are pieces missing because you're holding all those hats.
And I totally resonate with that too, because it's not only holding them, it's wearing them and juggling them all at the same time, right?
Yeah, and on top of that is staying up to date on all of the new registrations that you need to do, right? So a big one right now is the BOIR, which I believe is Beneficial Ownership Information Report. So if you're an LLC or a corporation and you were created before 1/1/24, then you have until 1/1/25 to complete the registration. There is a steep fee if you don't get that done by January 1. It's $500 a day up to 100,000, I believe. So, yeah, you got to keep up on all these registrations you have to do on top of taxes. If you have payroll, you got to make sure your payroll reports are done. So it's a
Well,
lot.
and I will tell you that it's interesting because I just got that piece of correspondence from my CPA about a month and a half ago, and I'm going, what is this? Another document? Okay. So, and I noticed the steep fees too. I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to get caught up in that. I took quick action. So, well, tell me, you've kind of already addressed this, but I want to reframe the question for you specifically. What is the mission behind the work you do, and why is it really important to you, especially working with these nonprofits and startup businesses?
And so our mission at Mariko Consulting is to help small businesses and organizations succeed at a faster rate. So in having these diverse experiences, one of the things that I noticed is small businesses sometimes can't succeed or can't get to their potential because of the operations.
Mhm.
So we want to be that missing piece. We want to educate. We don't just want to do your operations. We want to also teach you and be a trusted partner in completing all of the things that you need, like payroll, additional taxes, and even compliance. So, one of the things that I have found very interesting is that companies don't really know how to protect themselves. So, like big organizations, governments, in having access to those types of operations and the risk and how they cover themselves, I realized that small businesses and nonprofits, they don't always have that information. So, in having and being being able to manage those policies and one of the things that we do is we do a whole compliance realm where we'll look at, do you have general liability, do you have property, um, if you were to make a mistake in your profession, you know, are you covered? You know, that's more of your professional or errors and omissions. If you have payroll, you know, you need to make sure that you do have EPLI, which is an insurance that covers you and your employees. So hopefully I'm not going too deep, but I want to give a lot of gems away because this is the information that I feel like um, small businesses they don't have and they don't know how to protect themselves. So it's not just growing; it's also protecting the business owner as well as the organization.
And I love everything that you're saying because as a small business owner, I think, and this is probably true for everybody, you can give me your perception, but it seems like, somebody's got something they're passionate about or really skilled at, or, like I'm passionate about working with women and helping them make smart financial decisions. So I just want to go do it. But do I have the business expertise to create the business, have the structures in place, all of the things that you're talking about? So what you are providing for people is essential to their business success in my mind. So tell me a little bit about, when I read the term fractional CFO, explain to us how that works if someone were to work with you.
Yes. So thanks, Donna, for that. I'm not a public speaker, so normally interviews like this make me really nervous. I'm just so nervous I'm going to say the wrong thing, but I'm pushing through, right? Because this is my passion, and it's one of the reasons why I started Mariko Consulting is to push through those thoughts of maybe I can't do this. So fractional CFO. So I just wanted to address that. But fractional CFO, we also call it fractional COO services. What that is that a lot of small companies can't afford to have an accountant on payroll, HR specialist to come in and work full time. So you get a fractional CFO for it's not a person that's on payroll, but we meet sometimes twice a week depending on the needs of the organization, and you get that fractional, which is part-time, a few hours. You get that professional service at a lower rate. So instead of hiring a CFO to run your business, you can have a fractional CFO that will look over all of your financials, your operating manual, work with your CPA if needed, be a liaison between, um, you know, you're trying to build a budget. If you talk about someone who's like, I'm not business savvy, every company should have a budget. That's another thing there. If you don't, reach out to your CPA or your fractional CFO or your operations person, because in order to grow, you do have to have a budget. And sometimes you don't know where to start with that. So, a fractional CFO, we could also build budgets, keep you on those budgets. We do budget to actual reports once we've closed the books, and we have a conversation about what happened that month and, how are we moving in a way that you want to move the company, or are you, what do your expenses look like? Are these legitimate expenses, believe it or not? um,
Mhm.
do you have a business bank account? That's always my number one rule. You have to have a business bank account. So if you are starting off new, please go get your business bank account and keep those personal expenses separate.
Y'all, that is a very, very valuable little nugget that Maria has just shared with us. I can't tell you, as a financial professional, how many people I meet with who own their own businesses but are commingling everything with their personal bank accounts. And that's an accountant's nightmare, right?
Nightmare. It's hard to close the books. It's you got to remember all the things, and you can't operate your company successfully and not knowing what you're spending on your business. And And then you also got, the big IRS that says commingling funds is not the way to
Right,
go.
absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Every career has its share of obstacles, and you've had an interesting career path. But tell me, what has been the most significant challenge or setback that you faced in your professional journey, and how did overcoming it influence the work that you're doing now to help others?
Donna, that's a big one. He gave me a loaded, loaded one. I will say where Mariko Consulting is right now, it started off with just being myself, and it has grown into a staff of seven. We also have a couple contractors. So the biggest thing right now for me is growing the company as well as doing the work. So I relate a lot to my clients because they're doing the same thing. And it is very hard to manage. We talked about wearing all the hats. Um, so yeah, that's where we are. Marigo Consulting just got the woman-owned certificate from SBA.
Woo,
Woo, it
that's
took
a big celebration.
Thank you. We started the first of the year, so we just got it last month. So now we're looking to get into government contracting. So, in getting in that space, there's a lot of networking. So time management has been my biggest hurdle. And what we are doing to get around that is I have a virtual assistant now. And then we're also leaning on the AI and the technology. We've just recently implemented ClickUp, which is a project management tool. So with the combination of technology and the virtual assistant, I believe we're on the right track. However, I will let you know come, 1st of January if it's actually played out. But the biggest hurdle that we have is just trying to grow in that time management. There's never enough hours in the day.
We could probably all benefit from having at least three more of ourselves. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. On top of that, I have a really big family right now. So I have three kids, three children that I birth, and then we call them our bonus children. I have my niece and my nephew as well. So we have five children under the age of 10. So, it's hard. They say female companies, sometimes they don't succeed because a lot of times we're the nurturer of the family. However, I am sticking in there, and I really want to help companies, help organizations really succeed. I've always kind of been in the background of bigger organizations. So you look at my career and you think, um, being at the White House, I loved being in we called it room one operations. It was so gratifying. It was kind of like I was doing my part in helping President Obama with his journey. And even when I went to the startup company, at the time it was the Collins Johnson Group, but it was two successful men, um, you know, big names, and I felt honored to help them with their operations and their accounting, and getting that startup together. So it's kind of like now my small businesses. I love the chefs and the restaurants. I feel like I'm a part of these organizations, and growing their company. So it's a deep passion of mine, and
That
it's
is so
it's
awesome, and
fulfilling.
I can feel it. I can your passion is coming through, and I will tell you the interesting thing that I'm hearing too, Maria, is that you've had these really important positions in the past, but you were kind of in the background, and we're comfortable with that just because you're not a public speaker, like you said. But I can tell you now, it looks like you are front and center, and you are driving the train.
Yes. So I didn't come from a family with strong financial literacy. So I was behind the curve. So started off student loans, credit cards, um, working at the White House was the best thing for me when it comes to financial um, literacy. In order to get my clearance, I actually had to clean up my credit. And they worked with me, and it was one of the best things that I could have done. It put me on a good start. Um, in starting the company, I actually had really good or have really good credit. So I got to get some capital to start it up. Um, since then, starting a family, we then learned about financial planning. So now we have a financial planner that helps with our retirement and our investments. My husband is an engineer and he wants to manage it himself. So it sometimes becomes a struggle. However, we work it out. And having the business background, I know a lot about the finance. A lot of people think finance and accounting are the same, and they're not. Even finance, accounting, and tax are not all the same. You should have a person that specializes in each one. So I think that's pretty much it. The financial planner, we meet with our financial planner at least 3 times a year. So depending on what the trends are going on, the biggest lesson that I have learned is that you don't have to do it all by yourself. And social media is tricky because they give you little nuggets. However, they don't give you the whole nugget. So, yes, you should have a retirement plan, an estate plan if that's right for you. However, you know, the back end of the cost and how much a trust cost and how you have to have the maintenance fee and things of that sort. I've been getting a lot of my clients have been asking me about trust, and I've been breaking it down for them, and they decide not to get a trust. As you know, you should be in a certain place in your financials to do that. Um, but yeah, I would say the nugget would be get a financial planner, and your credit is really important. Work on it, and it will set you up for success.
Absolutely wonderful. And I think a lot of people try to do so much by themselves because I mean, we've got Google, we can Google anything or ask Siri. But the reality is, we may not even be asking the right questions. So, how do we know we're getting the right advice when we rely on something like Google? So, having those professional members on your team, I think, is really essential. And that's what you're providing to your clients as that fractional CFO, doing all of the different pieces of the puzzle that you do. I think it's wonderful. So if I ask you to share a few words of wisdom or advice that to offer to women today to help them become more financially empowered to live their best lives, what words would those be?
Mm. Let me think of it. Don't quit.
Love it. Elaborate on
Don't quit.
that.
Yeah, don't quit. Uh, and Donna, I also wanted to just talk more about um, the fractional CFO. The fractional CFO services for Marico is unique in the fact that we partner with an insurance broker, a CPA, um, a employment lawyer. So it feels like Marico is doing all of the work. However, we have partners that we also work with to make sure that you don't feel all of these different partners. And what we like to do is like we keep everyone on the same track, on the train track. So we make sure that everything is in alignment, and we kind of do a lot of the work for you.
And that sounds awesome because you're kind of the go-to person and you
Mhm.
ensure that people like me are getting all of the services that we needed. You may not personally be providing it, you're giving
Yes.
me access to it, but you found the resource and vetted them and have hired the best people to do that job, right?
Yes, and I'm the person that, or myself or a team member will also talk to you and find out what you do in your business and, what should your insurance limits be? What do your contracts look like? A lot of times people get really frustrated with the insurance application. It can be a little intimidating if you aren't very business savvy, or you're not sure how much coverage you should I have 1 million, should I have two? So we help you out a lot there too, um, because we know how to just break it down and really have the conversation with you, and not talk so high level. We can have those high level conversations, but um, we break them down so that you can understand them no
Keep
matter
it
what level
simple,
you're at.
sweetie, right? The keep it simple strategy. I love that. I absolutely love it.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, tell me one last question for you here. What do you see next for yourself, or what's your next big goal?
Well, next big goal, I have this sign that's LA 28, because the Olympics are coming to the US. And I thought that after the White House, what do you do after you work at the White House, right? What do you do? And as soon as LA won the Olympics, I was like, that's what you do. However, it's been a journey. So I've been pivoting um, to government contracting. So I'm kind of giving up on my goal and changing over to a more realistic one.
Well, and that's the thing is I want to appreciate you for having a goal, because so many people that I talk to, they really just are kind of going day by day and aren't striving to achieve something specific. So you've got that in your pipeline. And even though you may be pivoting to the government contract type work, I imagine that you're probably going to find a way to participate in the other at the same time. So, yay, you. I think that's
Yay.
awesome.
Let's
Okay.
hope so.
Awesome. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money, it's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.